Let's wind up on this conversation now and talk about the judiciary versus the executive. And Willis, you'll start us off on this one now. Has the judiciary unfairly targeted the executive? Is there a need for dialogue? Those are two separate questions.
The first thing is that the judiciary has not unfairly targeted the executive. If anything, this executive in particular has been treated with kids' gloves by the judiciary. Even their coming into office was a result of a court order. So you cannot say that the judiciary has unfairly targeted them. Number two, we must understand where their frustration is coming from. And that frustration is coming from the housing levy. That's all. It's pure and simple. They've never complained about anything else. It's just because the judiciary found that this housing fund and housing levy, as they have proposed it in the Finance Act 2023-2024, is unconstitutional. And in trying to even address it, they came up with their own affordable housing bill. That the court said, the manner in which you're trying to do your public participation, please wait a minute, let's follow the constitution before we even go further. And why this is a big thing to Kenya Kwanza is very simple. Moi had maziwa ya Nyayo. Kibaki had free primary education. Uhuru had his chuchu train, the SGR, as the poster, his poster campaign. Kenya Kwanza has anchored theirs on the so-called housing, developing 200,000 housing units per year for 5 years. So, and they hope that the people of Kenya will fund that their mirage project for them. And when the judiciary is scrutinizing how they are proposing to do it, they are having a problem with it. And I say that because of this. When the judiciary found this issue to be a problem, number one, if you look at the appropriation bill, there was no voted on housing. We meet what is called housing for the first time in the Finance Act. But in the order of things, appropriations are first made. That's why you set up your revenue estimates and you put voteds. So it will have been voted in the Ministry of Housing. Then you go to the Finance Act as a revenue raising measure to fund your revenue estimates. That's why if you ask any of these two gentlemen and a lady, what will be the revenue estimates from the housing levy? None of them can tell you because it doesn't appear in the appropriation bill. It only appears for the first time in the Finance Act. So what revenue measure is it going to fund? That is where their problem is. And the courts, if you look at the decision of the court from paragraph 132 to 136, they try to bring that out, that all this thing was illegal from the beginning. So where is even this fund being paid into? Because it can't be paid to the consolidated fund without a voted. And if you pay to the consolidated fund, the control of budget will never approve of it to go out because there's no voted in it. There was no appropriation made at the beginning of the financial year for it. Hence, you see the fight was started with the control of budget. Now it is the judiciary, because progressively, we are exposing what is going on here. This housing thing is an entire scandal. And anybody who will try to come in between is going to be maligned as an enemy of the people of Kenya. But we're used to Kenya Kwanza and what they do. So the second point is this. We don't need any dialogue between the judiciary and the executive. The Constitution has already defined the dialogue between all institutions, organs of government, and the people of Kenya. If President Ruto wants to meet with the judiciary, with Martha Koome, then that meeting should have within it Law Society of Kenya, as ourselves, which will be there. We want religious leaders to be there. We want political parties to be there. And we want it to be live streamed. And let Kenyans now start going back in the day. Yeah. From the time when hot air was said on TV by the same Martha Koome. We want to go back into time to determine when cases were being dropped in those courts when Kenya Kwanza came into power. So we must look at the totality of everything. Okay. And if they are saying that judiciary is corrupt as an institution, not individuals, then we want to know that those orders which have ever been issued in favor of the executive, they need to tell us how much money they paid to procure those orders, who they bribed, and which cases were those. Because the president even equally said that Uhuru previously had a fund to bribe judges. He needs to go further and tell us how much was allocated to that fund, who are the signatories to that fund, which judge was paid, who was the conveyor, which cases were being handled. Don't just make blanket statements without substantiating. This is the time ya watu kuambiana ukweli. So let him start by telling us the whole truth about that judiciary bribery fund and how it was administered. Then we go to the next level. So even the cases which have been decided in your favor, I have court orders against state officers, myself as an advocate. I'm struggling to execute them. They don't even want to obey the court orders. So they should tell us, and even some of them have court orders against my clients. Yeah. I want to know how much they bribed the judges to procure those orders that now they are saying are illegal? Okay. Or is it only legal because it is now exposing what is going to be the largest scandal in the history of mankind? The housing scandal is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of this country when its totality is looked